on the Senate floor. Today, it was House Ways and Means Committee Chairman Kevin Brady right here on CNBC saying Democrats have some very good ideas on tax reform, and he thinks there's common ground there. Joining us is another team working together, specifically on supporting startups. Representative Darrell Issa is a Republican from California, and Representative Polis is a Democrat from Colorado. Guys, good to have you here. Really appreciate it. Representative Polis, tell us about startups across America and how you're working across the aisle with each other.
You know, so 5 years ago, Darrell and I had a discussion, and we said, you know, a lot of our colleagues are attorneys, had careers in the military, wonderful people, but they didn't have experience or know about the startup world, entrepreneurship. Darrell and I are both entrepreneurs, so we said, why don't we create here in Congress a startup day across America where we get our colleagues to really understand the startup economy, visiting startups in their district, because truly there's new companies and new ideas in every zip code and every district in this country.
That is fantastic. Representative Issa, since I work at CNBC, I'm hoping that this means you guys can work across the aisle on tax reform. What do you think?
Well, actually, we both have Art Laffer as a friend and advisor. Actually, Art served on one of your boards. We do have a lot of common ground on what we believe is going to help get America producing way ahead of the rest of the world. You know, one of the challenges is to find those things we agree on and do them, and try to stay away from those divisive issues that often divide us.
So we got to hold on 1 second. We have some breaking news that we are very surprised about.
Yep, we are very surprised. That's right. So earlier than expected, Whole Foods earnings have come out, and earnings have beat expectations on the bottom and the top line. So let's go with EPS and profit first. 36 cents adjusted, higher than what analysts had penciled in for the quarter at 33 cents apiece. Revenues also topping as well, $3.725 billion. Pretty much in line with analyst calls, and comparable sales, same-store sales down 1.9%, but guess what? It's actually better than anticipated. Of course, this comes off the Amazon Whole Foods deal valued at $13.7 billion, $42 a piece. And again, this is a bit surprising. We were expecting this after the bell, but we got it a little bit early. Back to you.
Absolutely. Susan Lee, thanks so much. Very rare to have it happen during a session, it's usually before or after the bell. So let's get back to our representatives. Normally I wouldn't have done this, but while we've got you here, either one of you have an issue with the Amazon Whole Foods transaction? We're hearing lots of complaints about whether or not Amazon is too big and too powerful.
You know, what we're trying to highlight through Startup Day across America is that tomorrow's and today's great business was a garage startup. I remember when Jeff Bezos was just starting Amazon, 10 employees, 15 employees. Look at the size they are today. The same with Whole Foods. And by really nurturing and helping capital formation and issues around startup companies, we're encouraging the creation of tomorrow's great American success story.
Because Representative Polis, it's your side of the aisle that has been particularly emphatic about maybe holding hearings about whether or not there's got to be a new way to look at antitrust in this country. You're not joining those guys?
My side of the aisle doesn't really get to hold hearings because we're in the minority, so really it's up to the Republicans what they want to do. Of course, I think Democrats and Republicans believe in antitrust. I think we also believe with the development of new technologies, we should update what antitrust means in a digital era, and I think both parties have an interest in doing that to make sure that tomorrow's great disruptive startup has the opportunity to succeed, and that the entrenched companies don't come to Washington and use Washington to co-opt their disruptive technology and enshrine their incumbency advantage into law.
Well, and Jared really makes the point. Are there barriers to entry? This whole idea that every merger should be scrutinized for whether or not somebody's become too big isn't the right objective. Antitrust was all about making sure we didn't have barriers to entry. The fact is, Amazon is entering a new market, if you will, or expanding in a market, and there's still going to be a relatively small player in that market. And I think if Safeway wants to do home delivery at the same rate as Amazon, there's nothing stopping them. Let's remember that the post office started off with a monopoly, effectively, on delivery to your home, and a number of companies have entered it, and as they've entered it, you've gotten better service, faster, more consistent, in a way that you wouldn't without competition.
And there's the famous story of when FedEx was a startup and Fred Smith had to go to, I think it was Las Vegas, and he bet everything he had, literally everything he had on his credit card. I think he won, and because of that, he was able to go back and keep FedEx viable, and we see the great value they bring today.
It's a great country.
Congressman Issa, we've had the pleasure of your company many times on CNBC, and you've always spoken your mind and told us what you thought. And I'd like to turn the conversation, if I might, to the investigations that are ongoing into the Russian meddling in the 2016 elections. How concerned are you about that? Or do you believe, as the White House seems to believe, that these investigations are a so-called witch hunt? Which is it?
Well, I think it can be both. You can be looking in premature places or making assumptions that there's some nefarious act, but there's no question at all investigating that often known evil empire who continues to do things nefarious around the world, including bringing down democracies when they can, interfering with elections. There's no question at all. We have to investigate that, follow the facts where they lead. But the idea that you assume that you've got to look and pick into everything of the president may in fact be both premature and inappropriate. So I'm all for investigating Russia and then following the facts where they lead.
Congressman, you get a whack at that ball.
Well, look, yeah, the American people deserve the truth. We deserve a full accounting. We shouldn't prejudge anybody. We need to remove politics from this process. I'd love to see an independent commission. I think that, frankly, if the president tries to thwart the process by firing the attorney general or others involved, there'll be hopefully a sufficient bipartisan counter-reaction around here that we can have a process in place that Democrats and Republicans have confidence in to get to the bottom of the matter with regard to potential collusion and manipulation of the election.
Have either one of you spoken with Jeff Sessions?
We both have at various times, but not on this matter.
Not on this matter.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. Good to have you.
Thank you. Take care.
Startup America Day.
All right, well, it has been quite the ride for Six Flags. The company missing earnings on an EPS basis, however, 5% jump in attendance. Shares are moving higher right now. Six Flags brand